How about the start button? Well, that's the thing. So now we are live. Hopefully, we'll.
But that was going earlier.
Yeah, that was going earlier too. So I see there's 0 viewers here. So I don't know. Either people didn't join or the new bear makers though. So now, if you spell it right, type in newburnmakers.com will bring you to this marvel of technology that I put together. No, it's the portal. The idea is that members of the group can interact to a higher level of degree than you can with Meetup. Now that we know, also because the age limitation, but more than anything, in Meetup, it's very hard for members to discuss among each other, to communicate to members in a way that they actually notice that you sent them something, and to share materials, or mostly like files or schematics or design concepts, by creating a group per project. And that group will involve members that can interact within the group context and exchange information. The look and the workflow of functionality kind of reminds of Facebook. So you can invite people, you can you could friend and like and dislike. I disabled that part because, but more than anything, you can form groups and participate to the forum. I'm going to just go over the process of signing up for those that eventually I would like the people of the Meetup group to sign up also on these newer makers group, because here we will have more information than Meetup. Eventually, I'll find a way, if possible, to the possible extent, to integrate the two, but I'm sure that there are limitations in doing that. So who didn't sign up? Chris? Are you on this group, Chris?
No.
So why don't you just come here for a sec and just do the sign up, and then I'm gonna show you the sign up process is very easy. You're all welcome. I shouldn't mention it, Chris, right? Is that okay? Huh? Maybe I should. I'm in charge. No, sign up for now. Once we get paying, then people will like to, especially the out of town here. So you choose a username. There's no policy or validation on the thing, so please use your best judgment of the choice of word for your username. Your email and password, so that the system can send you notification and authorization, and also share your real name. In the portal, I had the choice to either show the user with the user ID or show the real name. We went with the real name for a while. Then people contacted me saying, "Well, I chose who's user ID just because I don't want to call the Susan." And so now your username also becomes your avatar name. Speaking of avatars, we skipped over. Put your gender, possibly your true birthday, and then there is an optional thing. We want to know everything about you. Like Google. No.
And this gives you some indication of just how diverse the opportunities can be to participate in the skills and interests. Because if you look at that, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's sewing and clipping and embroidery. If we would undertake an embroidery project at this point, it would be very manual. We don't have embroidery machine. But there's like.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, Derek did these categorizations sometimes.
No crochet?
There's no crochet. I don't know. There's sewing. There's crochet.
I know. I'm waiting for him to click on it.
Oh, you're talking Chris. Yeah.
Well, I do sew and quilt.
No, don't. Yeah, exactly. Don't just click for the sake of making fun. Eventually, we're going to use this to send you promotional material. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I think it's great because you can build a strong board too with people with.
Exactly,
That's
so
exactly
eventually,
right.
when you have 80 members on it, and you could actually profile what they do, you might be able to just propose a project based on the demographic of the group, you know, saying, oh, everybody in Jacksonville knows about gunsmith. Let's make them order.
Like, I mean, I have a certain interest in propagation and aquaponics, and so
Yeah,
there's
there you
some
go.
detailed stuff there. Well, a lot of people aren't going to, but if you get a couple people who do, then you say, oh, well, I'll talk to that person about that.
Yeah, so, and then there's a free form option where you can indicate what other skills you might have that are not listed. There's goals and objectives, what you expect from the group, and a free form version of it. All these is option. You don't have to do it right away when you sign up the first time. You might complete your profile as you go. And for the time being, we don't actually look at those information quite yet because there's not a lot of people. Then you may choose to use a photo for your avatar, which is the image that is connected to your user ID. If you don't choose one will be given to you. You heard of it. What would be assigned?
Right now, I think it defaults to that.
It defaults to the new Bern code of, how you call it?
There.
Thank you very much. So, once you join, then you want to send the email. Then we'll request a confirmation.
They automatically sent one already.
Yes, it does. If you send another button, it's going to send another one. In case you don't know. So once you go, you basically receive your classic validation email. Please reply to this email to confirm who you are. This time for Chris, I'm going to override that process by authorizing from my omnipotent account.
Yeah, because you don't want to see what's in my email.
And so once you're signed up, you can then every time you access and log into the portal, you will be able to browse. And I use Chris as a guinea pig. Oh, you're not in yet. I haven't gotten to you. What's your username?
Chris.
What do you know? I'm verified. You're unverified, like male.
Except on weekends. You're lucky it's Friday.
You're not male on weekends? That's, okay, so I'm gonna make you a member. There are different levels of privileges. It's member coordinator, which is like me and Derek. And that's it. And then there's guests. People that are not signed up to the portal can still see some of the content. They just cannot interact. They cannot download file, or unless the file is open for public download, and they cannot ask questions in the forums and so forth. So I think you're it. Let me see. Well, then again, no. So I'm gonna say mark email verified. So Chris went to his email, click on the verification link, and it's being verified. So now if you go refresh or do something, now you should be able to see your name, Chris, right here. There's a button bars where you get messages from other members, notification from either members of the system itself, such as your membership has expired, please provide your credit card information. And then if you click on the name, you can edit your profile. Remember that you don't want to go to the Derek questionnaire right away. You just want to get in and get the file with the nice 3D printing machine layout. You can come back later, edit your profile, and fill out the questionnaire, which is always optional. Or change your picture because you didn't have a good picture of you, so you go with the coat of arms for now until you find a nice picture of yourself. No, you want to actually leave that, Chris. Just kidding.
What do you want?
Well, the change password and all the classical user management utility. Now, there are two things. I'm going to go through this menu real quick. As a user, you may access a dashboard screen. If you go there, the dashboard gives you, the dashboard is fixed, is set up by the person that created the portal. And it gives you a set of high-level functions that you can use to access things like, oh, you want to enter discussion, you want to enter the group, you want to see photos, or check the calendar. Go to events from here, for example. You want to see when is the next meeting. And the next meeting that should be listed here is actually October 14th, the City of Bern, entrepreneur, well, simply tell us what it is, and then I will put it. But then go back to the dashboard. The dashboard is different. Dashboard means that you have like, it's a quick access to buttons to do stuff. Your main screen, if you go to the tab, you go to main, that's your main page. The main page is, I think I don't have a Facebook account, but I think that's what you call the wall. You have entries from the latest event, probably Chris joined the group, or so, yeah, Chris joined our site, news feed. We don't actually have any news yet, but eventually you're gonna see like, oh man, we finally got that $2 million endorsement from Procter & Gamble. The
donation from robotics.
you can see the groups, and it's the groups that like the latest group, and we go through that.
Click on it.
And you also have some of the dashboard functions, so you can interact with, have discussions. The members tab will show you. Members tab will show you all the other members, and you can see. Open the chat with Ricardo. It shows up a fish. Chat now, and that's Chris. So the chat, he's in Italy. So let's ask him, can you see us on YouTube or Google Plus?
Can you see me?
Can you see or hear us, actually? Whatever, yeah, you want to say. It's not good. Okay. Now, he might not be, unfortunately, he might be looking at YouTube now, so he's not going to look at the chat. But that's a classical example, like, okay, you see that the guy is there, you might want to chat with him. Without spending too much time to see if he answers, we just keep going. So we can see the other thing. Derek has the other logo as a thing. And you can, yes, I can, thank you. So, we just said thank you. Oh, okay. The thing is, so once, of course, once you have like 200 people, then this will make sense of using like see who's online, search a specific user, and so forth. Then you go to the forum. The forum tab is where people can initiate and follow specific discussion on topics of choice. There are two types of forums. This is the public forums, such as we have Derek and I started a discussion on the users of the website. So say, oh, change the background color of a quote. So things like that. And those are like open to everybody. Then there are forums within the group, which only group participants are able to see and interact.
And super users.
And of course, and the omnipotent stuff. The thing is, so there's no other topic for now on the forums list, but there could be a topic such as like the last week and so on. Usually there should be pertinent topic to the activity of the group. But
Well, that hopefully folks in here will be posting topics
Exactly. And
What
like,
are your interests? What do you want to do?
so a topic would be, an interesting topic would be like proposed project. You know, he wants to do a pinball machine. And everybody's been ignoring him for like 5 years. So he might post a final effort, a final cry. Like, I want to do it. But new project might be a good topic. What are people interested in? You know, how do we do this? Go to groups. Groups is my favorite thing. It's one of the reasons why I did this. And the reason why he is only seeing this, most popular, latest, my group's invitation, okay. That's an interesting, yes. How about most popular? Well, there's only one,
That's
okay.
where I started.
Anyway, so you have a group. Now go to the City of New Bern Makerspace group. That's the group that we maintain to discuss about the things that Cindy does. Well, basically, you know, yeah, the city is actually interested in creating a makerspace. So you can see the goal of the group, maybe everyone see it, to track all the activities of the city relatively to the realization of the makerspace on first. Why do we need a group to see things that the city does? It's just because if Cindy needs something from us, we can just share that over here and make it protected to the members, like other people might not be able to download things. Granted that usually we wouldn't post or share things that are not of public domain anyway. But you know, if we were to work more than one person to the proposal, this would be a good place to put it, you know. Go back to the menu.
Constantino,
Yeah,
I think if you click on my profile, you might see the groups that I'm a member of to get access to the other groups that are listed.
well, that's Chris.
I know, but if he clicks on my profile,
Oh, your profile, like, yeah. If you go to user, the little bear, like the center avatar, this is Derek. So,
I'm hoping that you're listed.
oh, say view all. See in the groups, there's a view all button. No, yeah, that's not true. I don't know. There are
I'll take
two
a
other
look at
groups,
it.
but we'll take a look at it. Then there's a photo and video things, which is for us to share, more or less like you have a meetup. You have photos and things of events. I do not find this particularly useful myself, but it might be interesting for users to share like videos of events and stuff. I kept that. I disabled like friend like or dislike. Or the events is very important because that's the calendar. And the calendar is something that you can, so to speak, subscribe to mean that when the meeting is coming up, like Meetup does, if I remember that you can go there on Friday. You can also, the more software savvy of you might appreciate the fact that you can RSS to something, to an event feed, means that you can use your output to subscribe to the changes in the calendar of the group, but that goes into the, you really have to be into computers. You can, well, a coordinator can create an event. Once you have an event or a group, you may be able, sometimes, like for most of the group, the ones that I created, I set it up so that the participant of the group can also invite other people. There are groups like the makerspace group where only the creator of the group can invite other people. But most of the products are so that if you belong to an event, you know, if Nick wants to invite Nick, then he can do so without asking the group moderator to allow. But bottom line, Features Corner is the blog that we're going to maintain, and the blog is going to have just a quick articles on how to, I don't know, something that I would be interested in, how to measure a capacitor using a multimeter, things like that, like very short, or links to other interesting pieces of information. So usually it's related to makers' activities. Or maybe, I just thought that as I was traveling to Italy last week, in New York City, there was the Maker Fair 2015, the 2 days makers, where we show all the latest and greatest in making things. So maybe in the blog you can find an article like why to attend an event in San Francisco. That's it. More than anything, please sign up and start playing with it. And if anything, join the forum that addresses the website usage and give us your feedback. Like, oh, I don't understand why I changed this or changed that. So now, if you kindly leave the chair for a second. Thank you, Chris, by the way. I'm going to sign out as Chris and sign back in as myself, which I think it's Cox. Oh, don't remember me. No, don't remember that. So in my case, see that my dashboard is somewhat richer because I'm handsome. And then the main also contains all the groups that I belong to. And Derek and I will see why Chris doesn't see it. We'll see to that. But that brings us to the next topic, which is the projects update. You might want to appreciate the slide that I put together. We have two ongoing projects with quite an amount of work already put into it. And they are the CNC router, or like we call it, the router refactoring. At the beginning of the year, Ricardo and I actually created the first manifestation of it. 3-axis CNC machine means that it's a tool that is able to carve materials across 3 different axes. So you can go sideways, backward, and the other direction, and then up and down. So it can actually make things. The way we went about it, we followed a plan, and it involved, and we actually did it from scratch, wood and metal fabrication from scratch, which eventually led to a contraction of doubtful usage, meaning that, yeah, it kind of worked, but not really. So we actually changed the plan and started on a different design, which involved the use of less metal, easier to work material, and a larger working surface, a working plan. The loose requirement of this machine is the ability to work on something as big as a skateboard. So if you want to engrave tribal symbols on a surfboard or a skateboard, to bring life to your triple loops, then you couldn't do so with our machine. But and all the parts have been cut and everything. There's a few rails, and there's actually the assembly that needs to take place, plus the winding. So we are looking for people to help with that, besides myself. The other project is the 3D printer, which Tom gave us a kit for the realization of a 3D printer. The kit includes motion control hardware, such as motors, electronics that allow for the control of those motors, and an interface to control that 3D printer via a computer by downloading the design, and that thing will be printed. What we are missing is what we're missing. We just need to put together the structure that will eventually host all those controls that will constitute the 3D printing machine. We are also, we met before I left on Wednesday. What was it? I don't remember when. So a few people were interested in working on that. But the bottom line is that if you have time, especially after work, for those that are after school, and sometime on weekends, it would be nice to organize groups of 4 to 5 people to complete these projects. I don't think it's a good idea to work on both projects at the same time, but you're welcome to do so. If you are unlike us, are 15 or 16-year-old, and you have nothing to do today, just come over and finish. No, the thing is like, no, really, I'd rather have that's been the hard part of like there was a person from Jacksonville who used to come and work on the Eddie. Eventually, this person actually got a job, so he can't commute from Jacksonville as flexibly as before. So a group from 4 becomes a group of 2, and the work that the 2 make, if a third person comes on board, it's hard to bring the other person up to speed. It's better to have a group that works on one thing and finishes, other than have 10 people working on 2 things for 2 years. Tom?
Do you have any access to a project management software or a Gantt chart, along with Derek's evaluation of the
Exactly.
assembly processes? It'd be helpful
So
to log in and check off. And
Gary will tell you all about the Kanban process.
I will. You want a little Lean Six Sigma?
Exactly. You want a Kanban board. That's the whole point. What Tom is saying is that if I have to invest time in doing something, or if everybody wants to have, but it would be nice to have a set of activities laid down into a sequence diagram or a process that says, oh, we need to like assemble this part, or we need to cut this piece of wood or whatever, so that people can say, oh, I will have time that day and I can take care of that part. Somebody that's like, I don't know about electronics, but I know how to paint.
if you can add a column for brownie points, that would be helpful.
Very good. But I don't know.
Accumulate scores.
So in order for anybody to do like a project plan or a Kanban board or even a Gantt chart, the old school Gantt, you need to know what are the available resources. So if I know that I have 4 people that I can count on for the next 8 weeks, 4 weeks, by counting means that they are likely to be able to come to the News Boulevard shop, not necessarily a fixed date and time, but like, we exchange information and say, hey, how's your schedule next week? Can we meet on Wednesday evening? Then everybody goes home and think about what they can do and come back either the week after or 2 days after. Maybe it's a big holiday. We can just crunch for a couple of days. That's what I'm saying is like if I can get 3 or 4 people to commit to a steady pace, then we can come up with a plan. Because the plan is, especially for the new thing, the new CNC router, the process is quite clear. However, one of the most recurring tasks in working on project is the task of finding how to do something. Like, okay, well, I understand that I have to weld this piece. I've never welded anything before, but that's why we're in the makers group, so we can try it. So finding how to weld is a task. How to weld those 2 parts is a task on its own. So that's the other thing. It's like for a 3D printer, yeah, we have a 3D printer kit, but we don't have the infrastructure. There's a task that says, oh, find the plans to make the infrastructure. So somebody has to bring the plan, then the plan has to be done. But so loosely, I would say that this is not a project like the ones that we work every day as professionals. This is a maker space. So things happen a little bit in a looser way than the professional work. Like, we can start something today that we say, oh, it's gonna take us 2 months. If at the end of the day, it takes you 6 months, that's not a project failure, it's not an over budget, your boss is not gonna fire you. That's what makerspace is about. It's like, you do something, you don't succeed, or you do work, you can fail and start over, you know? And in the process, we learn how to machine metal, how to weld parts, how to paint a piece of aluminum, or wire electronic things. So,
I want to address
Tom's.
more narrowly that what you were saying. My approach to that would be to say, not that we need a project management tool for the group, but that we need to, if we're 3 or 4 people who came together
Oh,
and
yes.
decided to do the CNC router, we say, you know what, we need a project, we need a tool somehow
A
to
whiteboard.
keep us on track.
Yeah,
on this.
absolutely.
And then
Well-
we discuss it with each other through the group maybe,
Yeah.
and say, what tool should we use?
Well,
Maybe we
you can have an
decide
Excel
to use
spreadsheet
Google
with it.
Docs. you know?
Yeah. Oh, for example, exactly.
Well, I think that's real important. Mom used to put a list on the refrigerator, who takes out the trash.
Yeah, that's the Kanban board.
But you gotta do break it down to a man hour, 1 hour for this step and 1 hour for that
Exactly.
piece. And 1 hour
But you
for
realize
this.
that
And
if-
3 people come together, well, then you knock out 3 man hours.
But-
Not necessarily.
But
In
for
pro- one,
people working on CNC router,
Exactly.
might want to take a different approach to managing that than 3 or 4 people who are working on workspace utilization.
And one thing
That's
that,
we're not gonna tell you
the whole
what kind of tool you have.
collaboration process of the makerspace. You
Yeah.
collaborate ahead of time on how we're gonna do this.
exactly, but one of the predicament of project management, one of the things that we learned over 20 years of doing, is that a project that takes 1,000 man hours doesn't mean that 100 people will make it in 10. Or better said, a baby can be made in 1 month just because there's too many involved, there are 9 men involved. So that's the part that it's very important to say, okay, we have these 3 or 4 people that are willing to give it a try or possibly succeed because either they have skills or they have 2 hands, you know? And probably one of the first meetings of these 2 people is, oh, let's see what we have, let's see what we have to do, and come up with a plan. And how to manage the project is really up to the group. You know, I mentioned the Kanban board because that's what Ricardo and I used for the first pass at the CNC machine. But other people might actually like Primavera or Microsoft Project or SAP. You like Primavera. But usually, a good reasoning head or 4 of them can come up with it. But I do agree. All I want to say is the fact that depending on your motivation, how strong your motivation is to finish it. There might be projects that you're interested to pursue because you want to make something, because if it works, you actually want to make and sell a product out of it. I mean, I don't want to sell a CNC router, so my commitment and involvement to it is kind of like, if it doesn't work, honestly, I have an invoice to send tomorrow for my customers, so I'd rather do that.
You're really there to learn.
Yeah, and I am there to learn, and then that's the other thing is that my mechanical engineering skills are really poor, but in the last year, I actually learned a lot just because I work with people that know how to do some stuff. 3D printer, we are at the very beginning. That is probably an interesting thing. Granted that Tom might have found something for the infrastructure, I don't know. So if you did find, that's more of an I guess it's an assembly effort. There's no parts manufacturing per se, or not as big as the CNC part, is it? Or the parts can be made in other premises. There you go. So the 3D printer is more of like an assembling exercise, putting together the 3D printer, wiring it, and then learning how to use it, how to use the software that generate the instruction, and then just come up with something to 3D print.
Plan,
Huh?
plan.
That would be.
What is that? Oh, the plan, Rob?
Plan robot, there you go.
There you go.
That'd be a perfect beginning
So-
project for a 3D printer.
The last topic, I'm sorry if I run through this, but basically the point is that I would like to say, come see me at the end of the meeting, or better yet, sign up to the Maker portal and message each other. But tonight, if anybody would want to just chat and agree on like meeting times and what you want to work on, whatever, feel free to do so. Eventually, we will collect those people and include them in the group that I can only see so far for some reason, and that will constitute the group itself. Can also have, I think it can also have its own events, but so. But for the time being, by the way, activities such as working on the 3D printer and stuff will also be announced on Meetup. In the future, they might not be unless.
Probably need to keep it up.
Yeah, for a while. But what I'm saying is that there are times that you know exactly what you're going to do when you meet. You might not have time to get somebody from outside that shows up for the first time, and so the workspace utilization at this point. Gary, Derek, and myself have the keys to the place. So either any of us can give you access to. So that means that whenever we need to work on the place, you have to ask for the keys or have one of us there to, So that's what I'm saying is that coordinating the utilization of the lab at this point. It's a little bit like it has a process like somebody has to contact us just to have the door open. That's why it's good to coordinate the meeting. So I know that if Derek is in, he has the keys. If Tom wants to go with two other guys, I either get another key for him or I just give him my key or whatever. So it just takes a little bit of like unstructured coordination. How do you like that as an oxymoron? The other one is, this is big, and I'm going to spend another hour just on this now. Gary and myself came up with this brilliant idea. Great minds think alike, and so do ours. The 6-week seminar is an attempt. Is the first seminar that we tried to put together of some substance. Last year, Tom and I tried to help the Robotics Club to do something to a varying degree of success. But more than anything, because it was an open-ended thing, I guess. In this case, there is a specific objective for the seminar. The seminar is directed to an audience of people that are first interested in electronics and embedded systems that do have some computer science background and possibly that have seen a program before. Program as a structured sequence of instruction that get feed to something electronic for the sake of performing a function. If you've never seen a programming language before, that might be a bit heavy, but like somewhere. Well, you start somewhere, and like Pope Francis says, "What the hell is free?" That the seminar is actually specifically directed to the people that are attending. What is it? ELM 232. Introduction to microprocessors. There's a number of interesting classes in Craven, and the electronics department has this thing where you learn actually how a processor is made, not just your computer, but the processor is made. What can you do with this when it comes with what's called physical computing? So the interaction of machines with the external world, I mean of sensors, actuators, which eventually lead to the realization of automatic machines, robots, flying things, and things like that. But it all starts from a programmable unit, like a chip that you can put instructions on. And you do that through a programming environment, including the software and the hardware. So there's a class here, Introduction to Microprocessor, where you actually learn how a microcontroller works and how you interface sensors and things with. These complement that class by teaching you how to use a very specific language, the C language, to program a microcontroller. So if you've never seen anything like, I don't know, Python, or back in the days it was Java, Basic, or whatever, maybe they might be too much. Maybe you don't retain a whole lot. But you go through the process of the fact that you see the interaction between a computer and human being, a design process, and a machine when it comes to turning things on and off and so forth. The Chris who's doing the class might be familiar with some of the topics. I'm not going to enumerate the topics. What I'm saying is that if you are into like automotive things or things like that, maybe this is not a seminar for you. And the beta seminar, we're looking for like top 10 people, not the top 10 people, a maximum of 10 attendees because of the limited space, but also because it's the first time we know about this. A few of them coming from the class and other people that might be interested in programming, such as, I don't know if Tom has time, but that would be a good one. Because you're an idea candidate. You might not have time, but take you as an example. Tom is an amazing mechanical engineer, and of course he has very, very, very good software skills. He's also an instructor at the college. He just doesn't know much about real-time C programming. So in 6 weeks, he can go from what he knows to this, and then apply it to his knowledge of what's called computer-aided manufacturing, those machines that make things. So that's a very good complement to his skill set.
Actually, very interesting.
There you go. So he's sold. And since you are not a student, you might have to pay. No.
Look,
Go ahead, Barry. Say.
as long as there's between 10 to 14, we're not going to worry so much about just show up, we'll take care of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it? So.
Yeah, but I would like to. I mean, the Thomas Mate is a good example of.
Yeah. So Thomas has to pay, but everybody else.
Oh no! Thank you. No, thank you for the. Yeah, I say yeah. Gary has some of the material he can.
Yes.
Well, I'm just going by the book, by the fact that there is a schedule. These kind of activities, as much as possible, we're gonna try to make it free. If this works, we're gonna do it again. And if it works, we're gonna do the phase 2, which is I'm gonna teach you how to create a wireless machine that you can control by remote and stuff like that. But
Look, the biggest thing is if you break something, replace it. That would be the biggest concern. So,
okay, yeah, but the material that you're dealing with is $50 worth of parts. If you are enrolled in the class, that's the material that they're using. So if you're coming from outside, if you're me and I want to go to the seminar, I'm not a student at college, and maybe Gary is not, he ran out of boards. I just have to buy the electronics. So that's the only thing. Can you do can you do the seminar without that thing? Absolutely yes. You can do all the simulation, or you can just pair with another guy and just do it with it, or just use Gary's stuff. But if you want to just keep with it, all I'm saying is that the training uses $50 worth of materials, and
if you break it, you bought it.
Exactly, that's the point.
You know what? Some of my students try to break stuff, so and they're done that.
Will this still surprise be on the Newbert Maker site?
What's this?
Will this surprise be on the Newbert Maker
So
site?
I'm gonna create like a line, whatever. With the list of things is the microprocessor, then there's the LED resistor, capacitors, breadboard, things, electronic stuff, you know. But in the newbertmaker.com, yes, I will announce and put all the syllabus things and that stuff. I'm looking at you. You don't have to come. But if you have any interest, that might be a good thing to tag along. The schedule is on Fridays, and the announcement is kind of a short notice because we've been thinking this for a month, and if we start next week, we're gonna fall into the week before Thanksgiving. That's the only reason why we want to start it right away. The location is here, and it's Friday evenings, 6 to 9. If you do want to do this, beside the material and everything, beside the 3 hours that you spend, you have to budget 2 or 3 extra hours to spend on your own. There's no homework. It's just like in 3 hours, you're going to go from like instructional loops and things, pointers, memory allocation and stuff. You really have to just go home, sleep on it, and then play with it again the day after. Just to please your palate, some of the projects that you'll be doing during the 6 weeks include a guitar tuner. So the ability for the machine to sense the sound, be able to give you a feedback on the tuning of your string on your guitar. And after that, you do the opposite, make the machine being able to reproduce a sound by pushing a button and emitting a given frequency that is being created by your awesome C program that is able to control the magic of the electronic systems. That's it for me. Again, for this 600, there will be an announcement on MimberMakers.com and on Meetup. But if you're interested now, we just see me or Gary, and we will hook you up, like my priest used to say, for Sunday school. I'm gonna go ahead and open the presentation from Cindy's, who is gonna entertain us a little better. Thank you very much.
Thanks for inviting me to tell you a little about what's going on with City of New Bern. I'll give you just a little background with Kaz. I found him. I stalked him on the internet. We have been working on some projects at the city to increase entrepreneurship and creativity, and kind of we've been approached by a number of employers, large employers, that there's a lack of some ingenuity in our area. And it's not that the college and the high schools weren't doing a good job, but there was no real creative space in our community. So our first project that we've been working on, and I'll get to how I stalked Kaz in a minute, is an entrepreneur center. And we've been working on this for a couple of years. And it was also a need that was brought to the city based on the fact that there's a community within New Bern, and we all know it as the gateway or the 5 Points area, that has been underserved by not just education, but opportunity. And so in the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant process, which is something that I'll share with you in a little bit, we found that in talking with the community, while they knew there was a local community college, there was a small business center, and there were opportunities to learn about business, they didn't have any transportation to the college. And most of the small business center workshops are in the evening, limiting carts even more. So we knew we wanted to start an entrepreneur center to expand on innovation and creativity with entrepreneurs. But the college said, we'd love to support your effort, but we don't have any room here. So if you can find another building, we'd be happy to give you some resources. So obviously there isn't a lot of money to be put into new projects like this. The city does not want to raise taxes, and nor does the county. So actually the county came to me, and I was still working here at the college when this all started. I was the director of the Small Business Center. And the county came to me and said, hey, we've got this building. It's been vacant for 5 years. It's close to that Choice Neighborhoods area that's so underserved. And the price is right. We'll let you rent it for $1 a year for your program. Well, he said, excellent. So you've probably passed by this building 100 times. It's right on Broad Street. Again, it's 2 blocks from the Choice Neighborhoods area. So it's close enough to downtown, where it's all obviously near all the city and county amenities, your licensing, your taxes, et cetera. And it's close enough to the Choice Neighborhoods model area where people in an underserved community can come and take advantage of the services. What we found too in Choice Neighborhoods is quite often the only opportunity for employment in this community is self-employment. They've got too many scratches in their on their resume that will prohibit an employer from being able to hire them, but they still have some really good ideas. They made some really bad mistakes when they were young. So what we're looking for proposed services in this space is an entrepreneur place, a place where entrepreneurs can all get together, a shared think space. It's referred to as shared space in the accelerator incubator world. A place to network, a resource center, and some training, entrepreneur training, a resource center as far as if you need some loans, do you need some legal advice? There'll be attorneys present, bankers present. Craven Community College's Small Business Center is actually going to relocate into this facility. So you'll have all of those resources as well, the courses, the workshops. And Tom, I think you attended some of those workshops. And so they're really good for entrepreneurs to see if their idea is viable. That's the first thing. There's a lot of great ideas, but if there's no market for it and your break-even costs are so tremendous that you would have to have the price of the item be out of the normal consumer range, then it's really not a product that somebody should put a ton of money into it. But we went and visited entrepreneur centers and maker spaces throughout North Carolina. And some of them were really cool. The one at the far left, they had designed their maker space and entrepreneur center with those raising garage doors so that everybody could rent a garage. And the adage, you started a business out of your garage. Everybody had a garage. It was really cool. So it's going to be a very modern, up-to-date, pretty cool spot. And this is the architectural renderings that we've got on the space. And I'm going to go through a quick virtual tour with you. We have applied for significant grant funding for this project because the building, obviously, it's been vacant 5 years. It had some interior issues. It's a 2-story old brick building. It was adult probation at one time. It was a hospital for a while. You can see the shared space, the very modern look of it. Some of the walls that you see, the architect left up because she felt they were structural walls. We've since then had 3 contractors come in and kind of give us some bids on and analyze which walls were structural, et cetera. Again, it had been so many uses that there were walls everywhere. So we do propose taking down a number of walls, the first floor being the collaborative space where everybody can get together. It'll be a membership-based entrance. So everybody will pay, say, $50 a month, and you'll get to use all the amenities. It's got conference rooms, there'll be a receptionist, and all the members will be given a fob. So you can enter the shared space, which is the area you're looking at right now. You were, and the backspace, of course, 24/7. And we'll know who's there. There'll be cameras, obviously, if something isn't going right. Security will be available. But it'll be a place for those. And what we learned with dealing with our entrepreneurs and our makers is they sometimes have an idea at 2 a.m. and really want to go and get together with somebody somewhere and talk about this idea. So this will be the spot. The second opportunity is going to be if at a certain level we see that these entrepreneurs are really kind of ready to go to the next step and they need their own little office. Instead of working from home, they need a place to just kind of have their own spot. They'll be able to go up to the 2nd floor. We've got 2 ADA compliant offices on the 1st floor, but we really want the serious entrepreneurs to go upstairs to the 2nd floor. Well, again, they can share some ideas now being at the next level. They've gone kind of past, what do I want to do? Is it really doable? And now these will be doable ideas up on the 2nd floor. They'll have a separate conference room, kitchen, etc. So there's renderings over there also if you want to take a look at them after the presentation. But this is where we've gotten so far on our Entrepreneur Center. And again, we have applied for significant grants for this project, and we should be hearing from them hopefully in the next couple of weeks. It's Golden Leaf, Z. Smith Reynolds. Z. Smith Reynolds actually gave us a planning grant to go ahead and hire this architect, hire some contractors, et cetera, to see what this would cost. And typically, if you get a planning grant, they'll give you the implementation funding if you've done a good job. And I think we've done a good job. So as we were talking with entrepreneurs, a lot of them said, they had gone through so much just trying to get their product to market. They knew they had a good idea. We worked with a number of them at the Small Center, but they said getting their prototype made was almost impossible. And to get the prototype done, they typically had to go overseas, which meant they gave away some of their ownership rights to the product. And Ron Pontiff is a great example. He's been on QVC. He invented a number of products, but he always had to send prototyping overseas, have it, and wanted to have it made in the US, but once you prototype overseas, they pretty much buy the right to make the product too. So, and a number of people had said they wish there was a place here for some 3D printing, some mold, something that they could create the product to see, again, it's not just making it, it's testing it. What's the durability of it, et cetera. So we had already visited a number of maker spaces and thought, well, let's get started on the makerspace idea. And so I started searching the web and I came across New Bern Makers, and it looked like this very private, secretive group who didn't want anybody in. So of course I had to try and get in. And that's how I met Kaz. And I said, look, I think what we're planning, you're already doing, and let's sit and talk about it. So we did. And I'm going to give you a kind of a big overview on where we're going with the city market concept. This, you've probably heard about it because the farmers market has raised some really unhappy concerns, thinking that the city was going to move them to this site. That was not. I sit on the farmers market board. I'm the treasurer, so I was involved in all their meetings. What we did is the farmers market wanted to expand and still does. So we hired an architect to do some renderings, took it to the city manager, and he said, absolutely not. You are exceeding the size limits on that property, and you're cutting into the parking, which is already an issue. You can't expand that site. So we asked the city, again, in my farmers market capacity board persona, asked the city to find another spot. And so we said, well, this is the spot we are hoping to develop into a marketplace. And we'd already thought about a college extension and a possible maker space, or the accelerator part 2. Again, moving from that, if they needed some light manufacturing. Again, we hadn't really formed what we were going to do with this site, but we knew we were going to redevelop it. And it's in pretty rough shape right now, but the concept was never strictly for a farmer's market. It was, we said, we're going to rebuild this site. Would the farmer's market like to be here? And now you know what has happened since then. But there is still a component of a farmer's market. There's another farmer's market that's actually approached us and said, how can we'd love to have our market there because, and I'll show you here, all of the long buildings kind of up the middle, those are all open bays where all the utility trucks used to be. So what we've been hearing from some of the vendors who are at the current market even is that it's hard to bring a vehicle in. They have to unload. If you sell watermelons, the last thing you want to do is unload 200 watermelons or pumpkins or, cantaloupes. And the fishermen like to keep everything in the back of their truck. This is going to be a component for all of those larger farmers and some other products you see being sold at the side of the road, trucks, the crabs, the oysters, the shrimp. It'll be a one-stop shop for all of that and a large farmer's market. The farmer's market that's approached us received a grant from the USDA to market themselves, expand themselves, and bring them into a community that is underserved, or what they call a food desert, meaning there isn't a supermarket within easy walking distance for the residents. And this will be a great spot for that. So we talked, we ended up talking, and I invited Kaz to come and talk to several people about what the New Bern Makers were doing. And it really is a great fit. And what we are hoping to do with the help and the collaboration of the New Bern Makers is have the New Bern makers relocate to our facility. And along with that, Craven Community Colleges has submitted a proposal to have a trade center there. Strictly workforce development, trade training in the HVAC, auto mechanics, welding, and carpentry. So the hands-on work stuff. And they want to take the brick building. I think Kaz has identified, 2 buildings that he would like. And then the farmer's market that's approached us would like to take all the outside slot space. And this first building you'll see that's next to the tall brick building, that's actually individual garages. And this would be an opportunity for people who are maybe already doing their own thing. I don't know if you see the gentleman that does he carves wood sculptures with the, yes. And that would be a place where he could do it. You could actually go watch him do it. He can have them there. He doesn't have to transport them back and forth. And when farmer's market's there, he just lifts up his garage door and he sells his product right there. And there's a lot of those people that do those homemade projects out of their garage and have to, again, lug it to a market. This would be the one-stop shop for them. So another piece of it is because right now, again, it is in bad shape. It's been the city utilities pit stop for years, and it will be vacant at the end of October. And so we've already had some engineers come in and talk about what needs to be done. We've had a DOT come in and talk about what they'll do to help us make it a more attractive gateway off of the highway. DOT owns that road, and their suggestion is to do what's called a road diet to slow down the traffic, to make it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists, and you decrease the number of lanes in a road. And that's the road diet. It was very successful on Broad Street. Broad Street's only 1 lane each way. It used to be 4 lanes of chaos, and the accident counts were really high. Fortunately, First Street doesn't have a lot of accidents, but it has some really fast drivers and near misses. It's the Pollock and First intersection that has a lot of accidents, and they should be slowed down. They should slow down way before that stop sign. This will do it. So it'll make the maker space, the farmer's market, and the college training center accessible, not just from Highway 70, but to a community, again, that's underserved in their resources and lacking transportation. It's very close to downtown. It's less than a mile. And so we'll have, again, improved parking. One of the things that we are criticized for in the city is we never give adequate parking. This facility will have adequate parking, and there's talk with the trolley, or that the New Bern trolley system, to have on farmers market days for people who want to go downtown, have a trolley go back and forth between the market and downtown for lunch, dinner, whatever. And it's also going to have a concert venue. And you can see there'll be a stage venue for open concepts. Farmers market at this point right now does have some groups that rent its facility for various events. Again, this isn't meant to replace it. This is just a bigger option with adequate parking. This will also be our food truck haven. We've got about 5 food trucks now in New Bern, and that's an expanding enterprise. It's very entrepreneurial because they can start with the food truck and then determine whether or not they want to go into a brick and mortar location. So it's going to be a multi-use complex, and we're really excited to have the New Bern makers interested. And all of these plans can be found online. I'm not telling you anything that's not available for public access, but if you go to the City of New Bern website, I'm the Community and Economic Development Manager, so you go under Community and Economic Development, and all the plans that we have, the accelerator, the city market, everything's up there, and we'd love to have you guys more interested and give us your input.
I don't know if you can mention that some of people have been interested in the fact that we need to submit a proposal for a solar array.
Yes.
What did the county say?
Actually, we have, and that's a good thing I need to say. We got the input from New Bern makers, the input from the college, the input from our farmers market, and we have applied for a $1.5 million grant from Golden Leaf, which had to be approved by the county before it could be submitted. Again, the county's not really involved, but the way these grants work, if it's going to be a county kind of wide initiative, because Craven is funded by the county, then the county had to approve it, and the county has to approve the submission to this Golden Leaf organization. Jack Veit saw it and just loved it. I mean, the new things that the makers are bringing are things, again, I'm a banker by trade, so it's all about numbers. There's very little creativity in my body. So it's all very organized and square for me. And in talking with Kaz and the other makers, all of that is just fascinating to those of us in city and county leadership that tend to be very one idea focused. So they loved the ideas, all the ideas that Kaz put in the write-up. I'm not sure if all of you had a chance to read it. It was very thorough, very exciting, and it was well received. So we're hoping that, again, it's going to be vacant at the end of October. The farmers market people, since they already have considerable money from USDA, will probably start doing some renovations on their work right away. We have to wait for the Golden Leaf one. The city's going to go in and do some remedial stuff, fix some of the poles on some of the bays. Trucks, had banged side poles several times, and some things are bent and twisted. So they'll go in and do things like that. But until we get the large chunk of money, we won't be able to do a whole lot of improvement. But from what Kaz says, you don't really need a whole lot of improvement in your maker space.
We looked at that one building and we said, there's our workshop, it's already there.
Yeah.
So, if we're allowed to go in and use it,
Well, and what we're going to do, and we talked about this today, is as soon as everything is off-site, which is the end of this month, we're going to meet again. And all of us will go through an inventory. What spots do you really want? What is, because I think what we saw was still kind of a mess when we toured the site. Right. So, and then we are going to form a team, I guess you'd actually call it a committee for this entire project, so that everybody's aware of what the others are doing. There's no stepping on toes. There's nothing being hidden, because this is just going to be the first of many grants. We're going to do some grant writing for program development. Again, the green energy or the solar, that's a whole new dynamic for Craven County as a whole. I know the city had problem getting a site approved for solar panels, and because it's just not understood. So this will be a really great way to bring that into the understanding element, so that people see it doesn't, a bird doesn't fly over and explode. And that was one of the concerns with solar. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. And so what I've got a couple handouts. The Entrepreneur Center group, we've been meeting once a month for about 5-6 months. And they are truly entrepreneurs for the most part. Some of them have had products on the market. Others are still in the infancy of it. And others are really just curious and want to know how they can help. And that's one of the things I liked about your site was the mentors, that you want to have some mentors for people. And we need mentors, and they can be of all ages. In fact, I'm really happy to see some younger people here, because they know sometimes more than our older mentors. And putting those two together is really important, because again, we are finding that we have a lot of individuals who are very, very good at what they used to do, but the world has changed. So I'd like to invite all of you to our next entrepreneur meeting. It's at 5:30 on the 14th of October. It's at the Flame. And there's typically, if you just want to.
Yeah. And like I did last month, I'm going to relay.
Okay,
the event. Yeah, Chris. I just relay that to the leaders and to the newer mayors.
Yeah. And again, if you have some other younger folks that you know would maybe like to get their ideas or be involved or, bring some new youngness to the
Whoever
group.
was that had the idea of the laser tag downstairs, I think that could bring some young people.
That would be very fun. I don't know if I would participate, but I'm sure it would be fun. And another thing I'm going to just share with you, because you're going to hear it a lot as we go through this, is the Choice Neighborhoods Transformation Plan. This is a condensed version. The real plan is probably 300 pages. But it's kind of why we are selecting the sites where these are going, because we know it's a need for Craven County, but the location is really important to meet the needs of a community that's been underserved. And it doesn't look like we're going to get public transportation anytime soon, so we're moving it to a very easily accessible spot. And off of Highway 70 is a great spot. Any questions? Uber?
Uber, like the Uber.
I think they need to-
We have
that's
Uber.
I know, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I just a dedicated like Uber Newbern.
Throw out
That's
some ideas
awesome.
on that.
That's very good.
What's that?
I'd like to throw out a couple ideas on that, the space that you're talking about. And that is think about the roofing systems in the design with solar and non. In other words, see if you can incorporate that in the design of the layout.
That's what
And
caused.
But you may have already done.
So the thing is that, so the proposal has submitted this actually photovoltaic array on the roof. Because I don't think that they're gonna redo the roofs.
No.
Well, if they build music, gazebos.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah, like,
With any new
yeah,
construction.
any good construction,
Think
like.
about it, see if you can incorporate it.
And then like looking at what the structure looks like with building and support.
No, but he's talking about a new construction, if
Yeah.
you're doing something new, then you can just, exploit that.
Design it to advance the sun if possible, to the benefits of the sun. And then the History Center did great work with their surface water runoff.
Mm-hmm. The gray.
Grass and plant systems and then into the wetland systems. So anything that could be done there with that would be good. And then, of course, sound buffers for the highway will make that a more quality space. And I'm sure the architects will agree with that.
The History Center, I'm working with them on their DADOC project, and so I got a little history of how they did all that. Because they're a lead building, and it's very easy to do on new construction. It's really hard to do on old construction. One of the things we're limited with on this site is because it was a utility department. If we start digging into the ground, we run into environmental issues. What the phase one revealed is that we need to encapsulate the site. So we won't be able to dig anything underground. And typically you have to resurface areas and,
You're talking about a cap to keep water infiltration from pushing the contaminants further down to the groundwater.
Right.
But there are plant systems that also remediate soils.
And
which is a
maybe-
which is a great also educational component of the future, using plants to remediate.
You did mention the fact that eventually you're gonna be hiring an architect.
oh yeah.
And maybe at this stage, we'll be able to bring those.
Yeah, and that's what the committee will ultimately do, is let's see what can we do with this and again, most of these funds are going to be grant funds. So if it's a new innovation, it's going to be the innovative place, the opportunity place. So ideas like that will be greatly appreciated. And if you would get involved, leave your name, and then when we start the committee process, come with those ideas. We need those ideas.
In fact, we did a walkthrough. One of the things we discussed, some of us, was the possibility of putting in a cistern and trapping the roof water.
Yeah.
You can also use tree systems to extract groundwater.
Yeah.
And you can use solar pumps to pump groundwater to recirculate it back through the tree systems that are designed to remove metals and some nutrients and contaminants that may be. So anyway, there's
Yeah,
lots
and
of great educational things to do with the process, so it becomes a true learning
mm-hmm.
center and example of
And again, those are ideas that, again, we don't think about it. It takes people who know these types of things to get involved and stay involved and be a part of this process. So yeah, any suggestions, input, we are greatly appreciative of.
And there will be future grant applications, I understand.
Oh, yes.
So as we go forward, those kinds of ideas, if we can communicate them between us and kind of,
Well,
we kind of.
what Sandy's saying is it would be nice at some point, once the committee forms, to come up with a backlog of things, of possibilities. Of course, they're not gonna be realized. Some of them are gonna be phased, but I think that what Kirk is kind of pointing out, there are some of these things that are of value if they happen earlier in the
Right.
early stages. And if you have to plant trees, you don't wanna wait until they allocated all the possible property to work together.
And again, there are certain grants that are specific to
Exactly, there you go.
landscaping, other grants specific to program development. And by program development, I mean the workshops, the training centers. Other grants are specific to the equipment that's necessary. Education is a huge component right now. If we can work a learning element into something, we can pretty much find a funder for it. So I like that you brought up that it could be an educational piece as well, an ongoing educational
And
program.
that's the whole point for the solar, because I know I told you earlier today that curriculum probably wouldn't have any involvement, but the solar, yeah, that would be the field trip to go to the solar arrays there and do some testing. So it would be more of a field trip and a learning experience, experience for the students. But, the other stuff, I understand, workforce development, but the solar array is huge for us.
Yeah,
Similarly, what he's describing, the systems he's describing of the water filtration, those have grant money available, so specifically for those types of projects.
The one thing I would like to bring up is the fact that I don't think that it happens every day that a small city can allocate the 4 acres industrial park to something we could do. It would be nice to see if we can involve a little more people into this group. I think that the goal is to at least to get to some sort of stage where things get started, which we're not there yet. Cindy shared with me that the process to actually submit the request for the grant goes from now all the way to spring.
if funding wouldn't be until June.
So in the meanwhile, anything can happen. And my goal, personal goal for the group is like, as long as we can get in, not necessarily physically in the space, I said, if we can get our saying into it, if we can get one thing started out of 10, then we become involved, that the community becomes committed to something. It's going to be very hard to, I guess, attain $5 million to where,
Right.
One.
And again, that's why it's a stepping stone. We do the first one. Once we know we can get that to kind of rehab the site, then the rest are typically pretty easy because you've already got a location.
You're there.
Yeah.
Nobody else bought it or least.
Right.
Also, with a group like this, what you find is there's sweat equity as well, where, there are people, hey, if we want to go in and make this workshop, a better workspace, let's just do it. And we'd have to get permission to make any changes that need to be made, but, some things maybe we just say that, well, we want to build a table or we want to.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. The city doesn't want to lead this on its own. That's why the more collaboration we have, we want it to be a space that is usable, not something that people who aren't going to be using it have designed. So we need people involved who are going to use it, want to use it, and understand the mindset of people who are attracted to sites like this.
You probably want to share the accountability of it.
Correct. Well, and again, collaborative projects are getting funded right now. Cities going after money themselves, not happening. Well, they're getting some, but what they have found is everybody's going after the same pot of money. And if you collaborate and do a large project together, they're more than likely to fund your whole project. Then again, if you go for some, we go for some, the college goes for some. One of the biggest complaints that you guys are doing, it's all redundant. You're doing the same thing. You're going after the same pot of money, and you're duplicating resources, or you're duplicating efforts. So it's a very strategic plan to collaborate with the people and let those who are going to be utilizing the site give their input. It's not going to be a city, this is what the city says is going to happen. There are certain things, of course, we're legally required, but it's going to be a project based on the needs of the people who are going to be using it. Any other questions? All right, well, I hope you
Thank you
guys
so much.
stay and get
It's very
involved.
exciting. Thank you very much. Oh, one thing I want to mention, whoever comes to the seminar is gonna get a T-shirt.
Oh, do I need to?
Yeah,
Walk
you should
around.
try it, yeah. You might see.
This
is
That's awesome.
the fall winter collection.
I love it.
This is orange.
And it comes with a beer too, so.
It matches the beard.
Yeah.
So you get.
No,
Down the catwalk.
no,
Come on, that's your step.
no.
Yeah, show parade.
Yeah. How about no? There you go. See it? I figured you'd give me an extra medium.
Yeah.
Show for my finer points. Show the Moabs.
When I read my own songs, I put on my own candies, I was like, man, these are extra meat.
What is that? I'm gonna put my alpha blouse on. It's
I just figured.
But the guy who designed it didn't say that.
Thanks for letting me in.
Chris,
And I will be back. See you. See you. Wow. Hard. I'll keep it up. How are you?
Thank you.
I had mentioned computerized embroidery, especially the logo.
Maybe stuff to
Just
talk
mentioned
about.
For you.
Hang in there. Good luck.
Are you around?
Huh?
I'm done traveling for this year.
Good for you. Does that mean you're on sabbatical for the next
No,
9 months?
I said-
Oh, man. Oh, it's like 2 months, isn't it? Yeah.
My baby.
Well, look, if you need some help, huh?
I just scheduled.
Fluctuate. I work 8 hours a day. I need to look at it, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I'm off
And again,
Monday.
it's both survivors, right?
Friday, I'm off next week. Over here. Oh, that's great. I would love to do that.
All right, it was nice meeting you.
She works
Yeah.
See you later. Have a good night.
too.
Yeah, see you in the portrait. Yeah, try to get as many.
I've got so much one thing or another. So I want to make a baler, pine straw, so we can some pine straw on the paper. Another guy uses a windmill.
Sorry, I didn't cut
Yeah, man, the old meeting way was, go down to the junkyard and build your own. Don't pay the $30,000 for somebody to fix it. But that's the only place you can get a baler. That's it.
Getting something relatively.
Take care.
You too, Tom. You done with the, thank you.
you.
We sleep for the cup that has fallen asleep. Well, I just want, I'm gonna talk to him later, but,
You weren't really skilled.
yeah, I don't see.
Still skilled. I probably would have eventually have probably go. Otherwise, I would be like, "Ah, keep the potato thing on."
Better just take the chance and.
He's gone. He's gone. Well, he's going. It's like almost 2 in the morning now.
Oh, wow.
I've never done.
So, you know, we were talking about building that main cabinet yesterday,
You were talking about, yeah.
but I got this Xbox set up, which it would be perfect for like the guts of it.
Oh, yeah, the,
But I still do have that old computer.